Coming up on Tech News today, Intel pumps up cheap ultrabooks, the first new Simcity in 10 years, Netflix to partner with cable companies, all that, and yeah, iPad. Next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Wednesday, March 7th, 2012. Tech News Today is brought to you by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 30% off your new account for 3 months, go to Squarespace.com and use offer code TNT3. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar.
And I'm Jason Howell.
And very happy to be joined today by Joanna Stern of ABC News. How's it going, Joanna?
Hi, guys.
Thanks for coming back.
It's been a day. It's been a day. I'm very happy to be here, though.
So, what brings you out to the West Coast today?
Oh, this company was holding an event. I can't remember the name.
Was it a tech company?
Yes, it was Samsung. Yes.
Are you sure it was
Samsung?
Was it Apple?
Oh, yeah, it was.
It's easy to get those two confused.
Their products look so similar.
They're always ripping off each other's designs, so it's hard to keep straight. Today,
yeah, that's where I was kind of going for that.
There was an announcement from the Apple. For those of you who hate hearing about Apple, you'll be able to fast forward, I'd say 5 to 10 minutes, and get right past it. And then we'll talk about other tech news like Intel ultrabooks and Netflix pairing up with cable companies. But there's lots of you who do want to hear the perspective on the new iPad. With a Retina display, quad-core graphics chip, the A5X, available for pre-order right now if you can get it to the load.
Just got my email confirmation, by the way.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Shipped
15 minutes.
Black or white? Did you get black or white?
I went black because my iPad 2 is white, and I'm afraid there won't be enough distinction otherwise between the two of them. I'll have to be weighing them. If I decide I'll just get a different color.
This one seems 0.2 pounds heavier. It must be the new iPad. Then that's the other thing. There's no new name. It's just the new iPad.
And it's not new with a capital N or anything.
No.
It's just the new iPad.
Right.
We're dropping the numbers completely.
With iPods and MacBooks and everything.
Yeah, it
or
seems
iMac,
weird, but it actually, when you think about the rest of Apple's lines of products, it makes more sense.
Yeah, the iPod, the Nano, right? They change that shape so often, but they still call it the Nano. So it seems
right,
like...
but they haven't done it with the phone, which is why it's kind of interesting. Like, you think of the iPad as in the phone category, right? Not as much as in the computer category, but that's the point here.
Comes out March 16th, so it'll ship on March 16th if you pre-order, or you can go to a store and line up and try to get it on Friday? Yeah, Saturday?
Friday,
March 16th. Same price as the iPad 2, so $399 is or $499 for the 16 gigabyte Wi-Fi, and it goes up from there. The iPad 2 price does drop to $399 for the 16 gig Wi-Fi and up to $529 for the Wi-Fi 3G 16 gig and up from there. We also got a new Apple TV, 1080p capable, $99, also arrives March 16th. That is going to go along with 2 new functions of the iTunes Store. One, that there will be an iTunes storage of your movies and TV shows that you buy, and there's also 1080p videos available in the iTunes Store, because it wouldn't make much sense to have an Apple TV do 1080p if you couldn't buy the 1080p shows from the iTunes Store.
Yeah, it all makes sense going up with the Retina display.
Backtracking a little bit, when Apple introduced the iPad 2, did they keep the iPad around with the price cut? Because, I mean, this what they're doing with the iPad, it's kind of similar with what they do with the phones, where they keep the latest one out, 4S and 4. But with the original iPad, did they do that?
They did do that, but I don't remember how long it stayed around for. Like the original iPad went away, right? Like within a couple months. And with this, it wasn't unclear if it will go away in a couple of months at that $399 point. It seems like it's going to stick around for a little bit longer.
Yeah, with the original iPad, they basically said we're going to sell off the inventory at a discount, and they did, and then it was gone. They didn't make any indication of that here. We are getting new iOS available today, iOS 5.1. So you'll be able to get that on your phone as well as your iPad.
It's also bumped up connections when you're downloading an app to 50 megabytes from 20. Previously, if you were downloading an app that was over 20 megabytes, it would say you need to be connected to a Wi-Fi network. So now they're giving you, well, the apps are just going to be bigger overall. There's certain game apps that obviously are huge already, as well as, I don't know, there's like a font app that I downloaded recently that was massive. But it makes sense to bump it up now, especially with the Retina display. There's just the apps are going to be beefier.
Right.
And circling back around to the iPad, one thing I missed, LTE versions did become available. So
no one cares
AT&T
about
and
that.
Verizon.
No, that's the first Apple LTE anything.
Yep.
That's a big deal.
Right.
Yeah,
I got mine.
It definitely makes sense for start with the iPad because it made it a little thicker. It probably have a little bit larger battery in there. I think Apple was claiming 9 hours of battery life with LTE, which is pretty impressive considering.
And it's no different than what they claimed with 3G. 9 hours, 10 hours otherwise.
And we've got an iSight camera on the back. So when you take pictures with the iPad, as everyone does, you'll get a 5 megapixel camera.
And 1080p video recording.
Do they market the iPhone 4S's camera as an iSight?
Because
I'm not understanding why they're marketing it that way.
On their laptops, they call it FaceTime cameras. They used to call it iSights. Now they call the front-facing camera on the iPad FaceTime. The back is the iSight now. I'm not sure why they're bothering to change the names or even giving them names at all. They're just cameras. But I mean, the thing is, it's. I
do remember Tim Cook saying something about why it's now an iSight camera, but I might not have understood the specifications of why iSight. I don't think it was really explained.
One of the things that we didn't get to experience here because they don't stream these events, Joanna, is sort of the mood in the room, what Tim Cook was like on stage, all those sort of intangibles. I know some people are interested in that. Anything to note there about the way he presented? This is the first time he's presenting since Steve Jobs passed away.
Right. I can't remember with the iPhone 4S launch how much FaceTime, pun intended, Tim Cook had on stage. I know Phil Schiller had a lot of time on stage, and I felt like they sort of shared the spotlight today when it came to demoing things. I really thought that definitely the beginning of the event, it was kind of calm and people were excited, but I thought the ending was the most really compelling little soundbite where he was talking about these future products. And that's how he ended. And I've never really heard Apple be so blunt about, we have some really innovative things coming.
Yeah, and he said
I thought that was definitely his highlight.
He said particularly this year, too. It wasn't just hey, we're always coming out with cool stuff. It was we've got a lot more announcements. Did you take that away, that we're going to see maybe more product announcements than usual this year?
Yeah, I mean, in my thinking, I was like, "Oh God, I'm going to be back here soon." As I was sweating, I was I was a one woman show today, so I'm live blogging and then running, and we had some TV people on stage here, but I was pretty much, so I'm I don't want to come back next week. I'm really excited about whatever you have, but I don't want to come back next week. But yeah, I think that it was definitely very clear, we are going to have you back soon. And I wonder, my heads went to, okay, are we talking the MacBook rumors that we've been hearing, the MacBook Air rumors? Are we talking this TV stuff? Are we talking more synergy between the iPad and Mac? So I thought it was definitely got our minds turning, definitely got my mind turning, and also me sweating about coming back here.
It seems like the mood amongst the audience and the fans of Apple was very excited. Many more people interested in this. Obviously, it was a struggle to pre-order one today. We've all talked about that in our pre-show. It took me a good 15 minutes and many reloads. Yeah, I kept timing out and getting page not found and oops, we're sorry, this didn't work. And I saw an HTTPS service unavailable error. I saw just nothing come up, page not found. I saw an oops page from Apple. Pretty much every failure you could imagine happened at some point. But if you kept going back and trying again, you'd eventually push through.
We all took screen grabs of our confirmation numbers.
Yeah, make sure that waiting for that email to come in.
We never got those emails.
Yeah, I do think people were kind of waiting on this because it's been, how long have the rumors been going on? Pre-CES, right? Pre-CES, we started hearing the stuff about the display and all these things. So people hit that wait button. They were like, don't buy right now. And I wrote a piece last week saying, do not buy an iPad right now. You would be really stupid to buy an iPad right now. So I think maybe everyone was just like waiting. And then today, like, hit the enter button over and over. Crazy.
Certainly the fan enthusiasm for Apple has not waned. As some people maybe expected it would with the passing of Steve Jobs. It's quite the opposite.
We were making a joke, too, at the end of MacBreak Weekly when the Apple Store seemed completely down, at least if you wanted to buy an iPad. And it's like, and this is all for a pretty expensive device.
Yeah.
You know? And we kept saying $500. Well, mine was a lot more than $500, man. That's the base, after all. You can get one for that price, but mine ended up being, $850.
Well, this revision of the iPad, I think they really put in everything people wanted at this point, what they were expecting. If they had rumors of Retina display and then there were none, that'd be an issue. That was a big bump up for me because when you look at a Retina display and then you move back to the old iPad, it looks kind of crappy. So this is
really does.
It's really necessary to move that along. On top of that, plus, I mean, it's got a better graphics processor and things, but the cameras, to me, I know a lot of people think it's silly to hold an iPad. I usually just have an iPad around or a computer or something, and I like just taking photos randomly. And now they've actually added a real camera in this thing compared to that horrible thing they had under a megapixel last time. I mean, last time it just seemed like the iPad 2 was, look, you guys wanted cameras, we could put in some cameras already. But this one has actually got good cameras, and it's got a lot of technology like LTE that just makes it just like kind of like a slam dunk.
Right. I actually have a quick question for you guys.
Sure.
Because one of the things we thought, or I kept thinking, was when are they going to mention Siri? And, Siri was not mentioned at all. They talked about this voice dictation coming, you can speak to it and it will transcribe it to text. That's interesting. But do they not think that Siri has a place on the tablet? Am I the only one that thinks it could be useful to have Siri on a tablet?
I expected them to announce Siri for the tablet, and so when they started talking about the voice dictation, I thought that was the entree into it. I was surprised they didn't. I think maybe Apple realizes Siri's not ready yet. The fact that it times out all the time on iPhone 4S's already means they don't want to expand that into the iPad. I think we will see them do it eventually, but they want it to polish up a little before they do.
I think you're right. I think once Siri leaves that beta, whatever phase they're calling it right now, then eventually we'll probably see on this current version of iPad, I'd imagine. Because if it can handle voice dictation, it probably has that same cancellation, noise cancellation things that is important for Siri.
Especially with anyone who's... Go ahead, Joanna.
Go for it.
Anybody who's familiar with Siri on the 4S is like, okay, it is in beta. Not a perfect system yet, but all these people who are, they've maybe never had an iPad before, or maybe they had the first gen iPad, it's been a while, thinking, oh, this is going to be this great thing. I can tell this little computer what to do and it not work. Apple doesn't want that.
All right.
Right.
Joanna, one last word from you. I know you had something to say before we move on.
No, I was just going to mention that, it's kind of funny, like you're saying, it is in beta, but the Halo feature that they mentioned at the iPhone 4S launch was Siri. So to see them not talk about it or address it today was very interesting, I thought.
All right, folks who don't like to hear about Apple, you may now re-enter the show. Let's talk about Intel, actually. CeBIT going on in Europe. Intel making a bunch of announcements about ultrabooks. They're really trying to push the idea of an alternative not only to the netbook, but to things like the MacBook Air. Intel expects that by the end of 2012, 40% of all notebooks from laptop replacement down to netbook will be ultrabooks. And there's some test results coming from AnandTech today of the Core i7 processors from Intel. 5 to 15% boost in CPU performance for the same money as Sandy Bridge, not to mention lower power consumption. That's going to be good for ultrabooks that have Ivy in them. Runs the latest games on the HD 4000 integrated graphics. They were making a big deal how Skyrim ran very well on this integrated graphics. And you might only have to spend maybe $100 extra to get the kind of graphics boost you would need to run all the games you want. That's going to help push ultrabooks because they're going to be capable of more. Acer president or global president Jianren Wang quoted at CeBIT today saying that beginning in December, ultrabooks will drop to a $499 price and in 2013 compete directly against the iPad and other tablets. Currently, Acer sells their tablet for $799 or 699 euros. That's the Aspire S3. Christoph Pullman of Acer's laptop team says, actually, that's too low for us to generate a profit from it. So I don't know how we get down to below $500, but okay. if that's what the boss says, I guess that's what we're going to do.
If PC manufacturers wanted Intel to cut the price of their chips so they can make ultrabooks and actually have a profit, and Intel hasn't really budged very often on this particular thing. And if Intel really wants this platform to take off, I mean, I think that it's going to take off anyway, because the only draw you're going to have nowadays for laptops is it thin and light. You're starting to compare your old laptops to this thing. So if it's going to be called an ultrabook or thin and light because that's a trademark term or whatever, that's where people are going to go if they're going to bother to get a laptop at all. I mean, if you give somebody a computer that doesn't have like internet connectivity, sometimes they have no idea what to do with it. So if you take out the optical drive, they're not going to notice. They're not going to care. So the ultrabook, I think 40%, that's a little ambitious, but if I guess actually notebook sales aren't that hot anyway, so they could be 40% of all notebook sales.
You think notebook sales will just crash?
That was another highlight of the iPad event, which Tim Cook said in Q4 we sold more iPads than any of these laptop manufacturers sold laptops, and it was like Lenovo, Acer. I mean, it was a compelling stat. So for people that were wondering like how much of the iPad is eaten of the regular traditional notebook market, it's clearly been a big chunk. And obviously, they're hoping these ultrabooks, even though, my feeling is the more they dilute the price, the crappier these laptops get. And that doesn't really do anything for the market. And they just become budget laptops again.
Yeah, I don't see it's a fair comparison to put notebooks and tablets in the same category all the time.
Right.
I think that's a little bit of a false comparison there, because you buy a tablet for a different reason right now than you buy a laptop. And I think even if you bring ultrabooks down to be the exact same price, you're going to buy them for different reasons. They're different situations. You pull out a tablet to do something very quickly. You pull out something with a keyboard because you want to sit down and you want to work a little more in general. So I don't know that was fair to say, we sold a bunch of iPads, because they're cheaper. They're more of a mobile device. I'm sure you sell a lot more phones. If Samsung came out and said how many phones they sold, they could make a nice tall chart as well. But I do think that Intel has to bet on ultrabooks at this point, because they're very far behind in selling processors in the tablet and phone market. And as much as they want the Atom processor to come in and eat away at ARM, it's not going to happen anytime soon.
Especially
one of the things, though, I do think that some people are buying iPads now instead of laptops. I don't think they're the everyday, people who are working, but I do think some people, and I've gotten the question a number of times, in my past life, I reviewed laptops, and I'm still reviewing laptops. I'm about to review this Dell. People would ask me, should I get this laptop or should I get an iPad? And I would automatically ask, what do you need to do with it? And for the people that were saying, I just want to email and web browse, I always was suggesting an iPad. So I do think that while it's not entirely fair to say, okay, iPads ate at this chunk of the laptop market, I think it does say something. People had money to spend and they bought it on an iPad instead of a laptop.
I also think there's a bit of a novelty with tablets, iPad apps, Android apps, whatever, offering a similar experience to what you can get with a traditional computer, but doing it in a different way. And right now, we're still in that phase where we go, ooh, new iPhoto. Wow, that looks different. Oh, okay, that's cool. But eventually, it will just be normal. And when using your tablet becomes normal, the way that using your laptop is normal, that's when you can start comparing them side by side.
Right.
I just don't think we're there yet.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's kind of what we saw last week from Windows 8. I mean, I feel like last week was Windows 8 week, but what we really saw was that melding of what we're going to see of tablets coming with keyboards and all these different form factors that are going to turn Ultrabook to tablet and tablet to Ultrabook. So I think it's an exciting time, and it will be interesting to see how all these people want to categorize it. Because I agree with you, Tom, on that point. Sometimes people like MPD are grouping tablets as computers and PCs. So I think it'll be an interesting time to watch.
Let's take a quick break and thank our sponsor, Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog or both. Go take them for a whirl today. They have beautiful templates. They will make your site look good, and you won't have to work very hard at it. But if you're an expert, if you're like, but I want to work because I know how to do this and it's not very hard for me, you can get under the hood and edit the CSS, edit the HTML, and make it look exactly the way you want. It works for any skill level, and throw into the bargain site reliability, 24/7 support, a responsive company that is there to help you make the best quality website you can, and you don't have to take our word for it. Try it absolutely free. You don't have to put a credit card in. Go import your blog. It's got data portability. You can take your data right back out again if you want. Give it a try. Go to squarespace.com and just start right now. You don't have to give them any other information than what you want it to be called if you don't want to. If you like it, though, use the code TNT3 and get 30% off for 3 months. That's squarespace.com. Go try it right now. Start your iPad fan blog or your ultrabook fan blog or anything kind of idea you got. Squarespace.com. And use the see ya, Joanna. Go enjoy starting that website at squarespace.com. Offer code TNT3. We thank them for their support of Tech News Today. Well, wait. Hold on, Joanna. Don't go yet.
No, I have to go.
Sarah wants to tell you about Anonymous, and you need to know this.
Oh, Anonymous is going to definitely bring down my site.
Yeah, if you're not aware of this stuff.
I better stay. Listen, so
members claiming association with Anonymous ended up hacking over 20 subdomains owned by Panda Security overnight. Added a YouTube video, both showing exploits and then apparent usernames and passwords of over 100 Panda employees. And they said this was a few reasons. First of all, it was revenge for the LulzSec arrest earlier this week. Also for a Panda security post that was written earlier this week titled, "Where is the lulz now?" They took issue with that. The post is now offline, but it is cached if you want to find it on various websites. And finally, overall, accusations that Panda Security is working with law enforcement to arrest more people associated with these groups. Panda employee and author of that lulz post in question, Luis Corones, has been tweeting about the hack, pretty open about he was the one who wrote it. He says, "We're not helping anybody. We're not in cahoots with law enforcement, but, quote, I would have loved to be involved with that." So he's not really backing down from his stance. There's an official Panda response posted on Facebook that really downplays everything. They say the attack didn't breach Panda Security's internal network. They didn't make away with any source code. No customer data was accessed. In fact, the only information, at least that they can tell, are some obsolete credentials of people who don't even work there anymore. So, let's hope for their sake that that's true.
It also had no connection to World of Warcraft Mists of Pandaria.
That we know of at this time.
Or Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah. If any Anonymous members can prove us wrong, please come forward.
It's quite possible.
In the meantime, a hacker known as AV Unit, I believe that's how you say it, left LulzSec last year. In fact, left before the group dissolved. He took issue with an attack on government servers. It was an FBI sort of operative last year. He says, "I don't know if I've been exposed. I'm unindicted so far. I have no idea what's really going on." He's the only one, really, of the group that he can tell that hasn't been targeted. He or she chatted with Ars Technica via IRC, in fact, and said he's a bag of nerves. It is a man. And he is ending his anonymous participation. He says, "I'm on a new laptop. I bought it today, and everything else that could be incriminating has literally been burned."
Literally.
He says up until now, he's moved away from LulzSec and was working with Anon Ops Collective within Anonymous. He was restricting himself to working on denial of service tool development, guiding new recruits. He doesn't want anything to do with it anymore.
Yeah, I think this is a significant event. It certainly, as we mentioned yesterday, is not beheading Anonymous because there is no head to Anonymous. But different people are going to have different reactions from within that loose organization, if you can even call it an organization. And some are going to be like AV Unit saying, I'm out. The water just got too hot for me. Others, this is not going to bother. They're going to take it as a challenge. They're going to meet it head on, and they're going to do things like go after Panda Security when stuff like that happens. Yeah,
there are a variety of conversations that people have picked up that have generated within the anonymous community. A lot of folks are upset with Sabu. He's considered a rat. He turned on everybody. And whether or not that's true, if people feel safe with what they're continuing to do now, let's say the Panda Security episode, if they don't think that they're going to be tracked down, it doesn't really matter who takes the fall if they're loosely connected and there isn't some sort of central leader that is going away.
Let's move on to some lighter news. EA at the Game Developers Conference here in San Francisco announces the first new version of SimCity in 10 years, SimCity 5, available on the PC. At one point, there was a YouTube post that indicated it might be coming to the Mac too. EA says they have no announcement regarding whether it's coming to a Mac or not. They're focusing on the PC. But it will be truly 3D. You'll see dust billowing up in real-time effects when you place things down. Curvy roads. People have been dying for actual curvy roads in SimCity forever. There's going to be more detailed political responses to your decisions as a mayor. You get more detailed effects. Play side by side with friends. Have their cities affect your city as the environment carries over from one area to another. Essentially what they say is we want to make it really easy. A complicated sim underneath, but what you see is what we sim. That giving you direct visual feedback for everything you need to know about your city. It looks absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, that does look really cool.
Is this in-game or... I guess we don't know that for sure.
I don't know if this is like a cutscene type animation or if this is what gameplay is going to look like.
I mean, if this is gameplay, this is...
If it's gameplay, that's crazy. There's people gathering on the bridge in a riot.
Yeah, they're so excited. That does look pretty cool. I was never a big Sims person, and that looks really cool.
Yeah, I was a huge Sims player. I remember spending whole days playing SimCity and then just sort of wandering over to pick up my girlfriend from work. She's like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "I've been inside all day." SimCity 2000.
Do you expect us to have the same?
Cool story.
Action?
Cool story.
Yeah, it reflects well on me. I know. In the SimCity crowd, anyway. I'm excited about this. I can't wait to see more details about it. It was a little vague, the announcement today, but I think it got folks who are into this sort of thing pretty excited. And finally, there are talks of new partnerships and new TV producers.
Yeah, Reuters reports that Netflix has been holding meetings with some of the largest U.S. Cable companies to partner up. Now, here's how this would work. You'd stream Netflix on your set-top box and be billed on your cable bill, but one of the weirder things is that the Netflix streaming won't count against your bandwidth cap because originally these Engadget sources tell them that the reason why these talks even started in the first place was because of Netflix's bandwidth load. I mean, flat out, Netflix uses up a ton of bandwidth. Obviously, the cable companies will get a cut of the profits. Although there's a snag in this. Some of Netflix content partners stopped the service from currently being on cable boxes, so Netflix would have to renegotiate those deals to get that content on these boxes.
They basically said you can't have a Netflix app on, say, a Comcast cable box, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, so they had to figure that out. And then Amazon apparently is getting in the television game. There's this fellow named Joe Lewis, an executive at Amazon. He changed his LinkedIn profile. His title read Vice President of Original Television at Amazon. That's interesting because Fortune was curious. They called him up, or Amazon, and they said, "Hey, what's going on?" So then Lewis changed his title to Vice President Production of Amazon Studios. So people are guessing, obviously, that maybe Amazon is working on some original programming. Lewis used to be the director of production at 20th Century Fox, manager of development at Comedy Central, so he's got experience with this. And considering Amazon is doing their own streaming services already, and negotiating with content partners can be a little difficult, as we've seen with Netflix and Stars and all kinds of fun stuff like that. Starting your own programming is the way to go.
Well, and Amazon is already
go for it.
No, you go for it, Joanna.
I think I keep hearing
Skype always gets the right of way because of the lag. So go ahead, Joanna.
Go for it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I have to say something great now. But yeah, I
pressure's on. I
know. It's definitely not going to be better than what Sarah was going to say. I think that would make a ton of sense with content partnerships because they can just easily feed through Amazon and whether it's a small fee or you get free content. I mean, that seems like where they would be going. When I heard original programming, I was like, does that mean Amazon's like creating TV content? But I think definitely the partnership thing makes a lot of sense for them.
Yeah, that's kind of along the lines with what I was going to say. Amazon is already familiar with having original content, especially with the publishing partners that they're trying to ramp up. And also the fact that Netflix has gone on record to say, yeah, Amazon's doing their thing, but we've got that original content. We're different than everybody else. We're more of an HBO competitor than an Amazon competitor. As soon as Amazon is able to say, well, we do everything that Netflix does, and we have this really popular program, then Netflix isn't special anymore. The TV industry is not doing themselves any favors in making it difficult to get their programming because what they're forcing these other companies to do, and we're starting to see it, is create their own
original high-quality programming. That's why Netflix is doing House of Cards, Arrested Development, Lilyhammer. That's why Hulu is doing their original programming. That's why Yahoo is doing original programming with Ben Stiller. And so it's no surprise that Amazon would be looking at the same thing, saying, you know what, if these other companies we're competing with are going to be doing original programming, we also need to be doing original programming. And before you know it, you've got folks like Dana Brunetti, who produce TV shows for whoever pays them to produce them, coming up to Silicon Valley and peddling their shows instead of staying in Hollywood.
I mean, I wonder how long TV networks are going to be okay with this kind of thing going on, because there was this, the old timey like Hollywood stuff was your channel you could have a studio that would produce for this particular network, but then the laws they were changed so that way these studios can sell to other networks because people wanted to be able to move jobs. So I just wonder if someone's going to try to muck with this and go, look, Amazon's got all this original content, Netflix has this original content, we want some of this. So I'm just wondering at what point is the law, lobbies kind of annoyed that they can't get access to this.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I think it's early days, and it will change fundamentally how content gets created and sold in the industry. But the fallout from that's going to be a couple years down the road. Let's move on to the News Fuse. Bloomberg reports Sprint is about to end its partnership with Light Squared. Good night, Light Squared. The two companies entered into a 15-year deal earlier, but considering that Light Squared's LTE network is fairly DOA right now, Sprint wants out as soon as possible. Bloomberg says the deal could be off as soon as next week.
So, two tablets walk into a bar, and the first tablet says to the second tablet, "Patent Wars!" Samsung is suing Apple in South Korea, saying that the iPad 2 and iPhone 4S infringed on 3 patents. The patents are related to text messages, UI, and displaying data.
Google doesn't even own Motorola Mobility just yet, and according to the New York Post, Google's already setting up a sale of Motorola's cable box unit. Google's hired Barclays Capital and Catalyst Partners to set up the deal. So who's going to buy it? Maybe Cisco, maybe Scientific Atlanta, maybe even you.
Blog called Google Operating System. Are you, Joanna?
Joanna?
Yes.
You heard it here first.
All right.
You guys can see, but in the back here, in my hotel room, you see that box?
Yeah, the lockbox?
It's actually full of cash.
It's actually Motorola's
set-top
set-top
find
box
out
unit.
a number. We'll be right over.
Right
Google Operating System blog spotted an
Or it's a record player.
audiobooks page and a magazines and journals page in the Google Play help pages. Not in the Google Play Store that replaced the Android market, but the help pages. Both pages were blank, so not much information, but we're left to speculate wildly about audiobooks, magazines, and journals coming to the Google Play Store.
Facebook was face down this morning, at least in parts of Europe. Facebook says it was having technical difficulties, but whatever the issues were, they have been resolved. While the site was down, people took to Twitter, as they always do, using the hashtag #FacebookDown.
Sony's decided that starting April 1st, it will start unilateral pricing in the United States, which means it's going to set a minimum price for its products. The goal is to bring back some of that premium brand luster that Sony had. Sony is also working with retailers to make sure that its staff is educated about Sony products. Oh, and by the way, they're going to make sure that Sony products in stores actually work, like they're on and powered.
No.
Yeah.
What? I miss the old dead prototype days. I like that.
This is an interesting new world.
Folks who like the Olympics and YouTube, prepare to have your minds blown. NBC is partnering with YouTube to live stream the London 2012 Olympics, and NBC says it will be streaming all events live. YouTube will also be the official video-on-demand partner for the event as well.
And if you really like the Olympics, this has nothing to do with that. Nvidia has joined the Linux Foundation, so it's cool, just not Olympic-based. Nvidia has been closed off when it comes to drivers for Linux, so this has people hopeful that things might change. Nvidia says it hopes to shape the future of Linux, but didn't comment on its driver policy specifically.
Let's check out the randomizer, because I'm thirsty.
Randomizer.
And I'm on Twitter, and you can now buy any of your Twitter pals a drink via Tweet a Beer. Tweet a Beer is tweet-a-beer.com. Links your PayPal account with your Twitter account so you can send $5 to anyone using only their Twitter handle.
Yeah, and what's actually funny about this
I really use that right now. Anyone listening, please tweet that to me.
You got a box full of cash over there.
Oh, well, yes.
Well, that's earmarks.
It's been a long day.
Tweet a Beer. What's nice about it, though, is that you're actually just you're actually just PayPaling someone $5. So even if Iyaz didn't like beer, I could just give him $5. I know you can't imagine a world like that.
We even got laughing over there.
It's all about the Lincolns.
Yeah, you could buy other beverages or even, I don't know.
It's like giving someone a $5.
Yeah, it's basically a way to tip.
You could probably buy this hotel water for $5.
Yeah, it's probably true. All right, let's check the calendar. Not much on the calendar today.
No, not really. It's going to be a fun weekend, though, for anybody who's going down to Austin, Texas for South by Southwest Interactive. That portion of the show, which is interactive music and film, starts on Friday and runs through Tuesday. And next Friday, March 16th, if you're not doing anything, you're just going to be sitting around like, oh, Friday, it's so boring. You could go to an Apple store and pick up a new iPad and an Apple TV. And if you pre-ordered it, then it'll be delivered that day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or maybe earlier.
Will you guys be at South by Southwest? I'm going.
Sarah will be.
I will be. there Friday through Tuesday. And I hope to see you, Joanna, at all the fun events.
Can I tell you that I don't have anything really on my calendar yet? I have no clue.
That's the best way.
That's the best way. That way you can just sort of get swept up in the food trucks and the path parties
and the Shiner Bach.
Yeah,
I'm going to need a tour guide. I'll be calling you, Sarah.
Just go to the Dog and Duck pub and just sit there. And anybody who wants to talk to you, just say, I'm here. And just drink beer for the entire weekend.
Just tweet it. Be tweet me a beer and come meet me.
Just keep getting people to tweet you $5. And just keep the Guinness coming. All right, let's see what's incoming.
Incoming message.
Got a call from someone in Florida about why those album sales, those digital album sales, especially from Adele, might be so high.
Hey guys, I love the show. This is Jose from Jacksonville, Florida. Just calling in regards to comment about the album sales and things like that. I think you guys are right. I mean, I bought the Adele album 21 4 times.
What?
Just because I bought it as an actual album. My wife went and bought it as an actual album too, because she didn't know that I had bought it. Then I bought it in iTunes, and then she bought it in her iTunes. So we own the album 4 times. I mean, I know we could have ripped the album into iTunes, but we like the album and we like the artist, so we wanted to support her. And I'm one of those people that back in the day was, big pirate or whatever. So I don't know what they're talking about. Love the show.
So it's family miscommunication that's driving up both analog and digital album sales.
That
Good
could be
to know.
A new strategy by the RIAA. Just make sure that people are not talking together. Keep them separated, and they can keep buying the albums.
Encourage gift giving. Keep it a surprise.
and that's why dropping the DRM was not an issue. It's all about convenience. This guy used to pirate things, admittedly, and now that he can easily buy them, he does. And in fact, way too much. Humans aren't rational creatures. That's what
I'll say.
That's what the RIA and the MPA needs to understand. And Adele. Adele already understands that. She sees it in her album sales.
All I took from that was that Adele was someone who purchased another Adele album.
Yeah, I liked Adele in her first album. Never mind. I did that joke yesterday. Scott, the camp director in California, wrote in and said, I'm writing because I, and assume many other people, are slowly becoming trapped in ecosystem hell. Recently, Apple's competitors have started creating and implementing their own iTunes-esque systems, Google Play, Windows 8, Amazon Cloud. Yet, in spite of their good intentions, I find myself now in the worst kind of ecosystem hell, having bought content from Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and even Apple. I have content scattered across devices, websites, and cloud servers. If I want to watch a movie on my TV, I have to try to remember where I bought it first. Was it Zune on the Xbox or Amazon on my Roku? Or did I buy it on Google TV? Well, of course I didn't buy on Google TV because no real people have them. But again, you get the idea. My question, and I hope for discussion on this, how will players like Microsoft, Google, and Amazon help customers previously who purchased content get it all in one place? For music or documents, I can just upload everything, but that becomes a problem with things like movies. Will anyone ever solve this, or is it just time for me to choose a team and say goodbye to old content?
I feel for him. Is it a him? It
is. It's a Scott.
Or female Scott.
I feel for Scott. I had the same problem. I really do.
I think
I don't have any advice to even offer because I have the same problem. I have a Mac. I have an Android phone. I also have this BlackBerry, which I'm carrying around for work. I have a Google TV. I have an Apple TV, and I use a PC when I'm reviewing PCs. So I'm constantly trying to figure out what's the best way to place shift my files and like things that work at the system level? Can it work, on the other system I want to use? I mean, I really feel for him.
It's a problem that we never really reached in full with music because they finally went DRM free. And because of that, we're starting to see music sales turn around and people aren't confused. If I buy it from Amazon, I can still play it in iTunes. If I buy it in iTunes, I can still play it on my Kindle Fire. There's no confusion about that except where did I store it, maybe. Right. But that's much less of a problem than with movies and TV shows where DRM and varying formats don't make it impossible. If you really want to work at it, you can strip off the DRM, you can figure out ways to convert, etc. But most people don't want to do that. And I think we're going to see a payback for that coming because people didn't ever get to realize how bad the DRM was with music because they hadn't started using it in great enough numbers. Whereas now we're starting to see people like Scott going, hold on, this is crap. This is how do I keep track of things? I don't want to do things like this, and they will start to investigate other ways.
But even talking about it beyond the video content, if you mentioned photos, I mean, your photos. Every company now has this way to manage your photos. Microsoft has it with their live photo app in Windows 8 and also on Windows 7. Google has it with Picasa or whatever they're using. Apple has it with iCloud. And then, there's no consistent way. And you try to switch to Amazon, some sort of service like that. That's not always a consistent experience. You don't get it on the TV. I mean, you start to wonder at what point are people going to buy devices based on just the service they have, the user experience or the hardware they like.
Yeah, and they're going to start getting frustrated when they realize, oh, well, if I switch hardware to this other brand, now I don't have access to any of my videos anymore.
Yeah, but back to the video.
Apple's been pretty good at charging people for services that help them stay within the Apple experience so that they don't get confused.
Right. I mean, this seems like an opportunity for Microsoft or Google to do like a matching service. I mean, Apple did it with their own stuff. Why not? Why couldn't Microsoft say, look, if you want to go to our marketplace, we'll see what you have and we can upgrade you for a price. You'll get all your stuff again. I mean, this is something that these guys can do. I'm sure Apple doesn't want to just give away its keys.
Apple was able to do that because of the lack of DRM on music, though. It's really harder to do that when you have varying DRM
It will require cooperation between some of these companies.
It's what Ultraviolet is trying to do.
Oh, that's a mess.
It's exactly Ultraviolet saying all the things you just said. We'll take care of that for you. Yeah,
I got nothing to add about that because it's Ultraviolet. So it's so sad because it doesn't work. So
that's the problem with DRM.
It'd be nice if it worked.
Yeah. All right, that's it for this edition of Tech News Today. Thank you, Joanna Stern. Great to have you back on the show. We'll definitely try to book you with Terpster again at some point in the future.
I do feel badly being here without him. I hope he's listening right now.
And I know he misses you too.
Love you.
But congratulations on your new job with ABC News. Tell folks about that and where they can follow you and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so we're just getting up and running now. There's been tech coverage there, but really building it out. We're going to be doing a web show and some interesting stuff. So at abcnews.com/technology. Hopefully we'll get the /tech to start working soon.
And thanks to everybody who added stories and voted on them at our subreddit, technewstoday.reddit.com. That's the place to go to let us know what you want to hear us cover every day. We take a look at it all the time to help us decide our lineup. You can find us on the web at twit.tv/TNT. You can email us, tnt@twit.tv, and give us a call. Our phone number is 260-TNT-SHOW. Rich DeMuro joins us tomorrow. We'll see you then.